It was late afternoon, and the warm golden sunlight bathed the city of Lancaster, streaming through the tall windows of Linden Grove restaurant. Known for its elegant ambience and sophisticated menu, it was the perfect venue for important events or signing significant contracts. The sound of a live piano filled the air, blending seamlessly with the luxurious surroundings. As the door swung open, an older woman stepped inside, though no one immediately noticed her arrival. Dressed in a navy blue coat with intricate floral embroidery and carrying a simple handbag, she carried herself with a quiet dignity that caught a few curious glances. The hostess greeted her with a polite smile. "Good evening, ma'am. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes," she replied softly. "Under the name Johnson." After a brief check, the hostess led her to a table near the kitchen, a spot far from the main dining area. Mrs. Johnson didn't protest. She sat down, casually perusing the menu, her calm demeanor unwavering despite the humble location of her seat. Around her, the atmosphere buzzed with activity. Servers moved quickly between tables, efficiently attending to guests. However, Mrs. Johnson's service was noticeably delayed. Ryan, a tall, confident waiter, passed by her table multiple times without stopping. Finally, when he approached, his tone was distant and somewhat cold. "Sorry for the wait. We're really busy," he said, barely making eye contact with her. Mrs. Johnson nodded politely. "Take your time, it's fine," she responded gently. As the minutes passed, the difference in service became more apparent. A young couple at a nearby table exchanged glances, their faces filled with confusion as they noticed the disparity in the attention given to Mrs. Johnson. Meanwhile, she sat quietly, her hands neatly folded on the table, observing Ryan's warm, enthusiastic interactions with the other guests, a stark contrast to the indifference he showed her. Every time she tried to catch his attention, he avoided her gaze and continued serving other tables. At a table near the bar, Victor Daniels, the owner of Linden Grove restaurant, kept a watchful eye on everything happening around him. Dressed in a custom-made dark blue suit, he sat with a sharp gaze, missing nothing. Victor knew his mother all too well. She wasn't one to complain or cause a scene. But her patience and dignity only fueled his growing anger. "My mother, Mrs. Johnson, has always been the kind of person who respects everyone, never asking for anything for herself, not even a glass of water or a meal. And now I see her sitting there, completely ignored in silence, while every other customer is being served with care. They're not treated like this. But my mother, she doesn't complain, she doesn't whine. She's someone who never wants to be a burden to anyone. Yet I know, deep inside, I can feel her disappointment building up." Victor glanced over at Ryan, whose disrespectful behavior only fueled his anger. "That's my mom," he thought, fuming. "She deserves better than this. She's a woman I've known my whole life, someone who's always loved and sacrificed for those around her." He could feel the quiet but fierce waves of anger building inside him. "I shouldn't have let this go on for so long." Every time Ryan walked by without acknowledging her, it was like a punch to my conscience. "I'm the owner here. I'm responsible. Why am I letting people treat my mom this way?" He could no longer contain the fire burning inside him. Everything around him seemed to slow down, and in that moment, Victor knew he couldn't sit back any longer. Even though his mother would never demand it, even though she would never complain or make a scene, he was her son, and he wouldn't let anyone hurt her for another second. He couldn't allow this silence to continue. This was not just about poor service. It was a personal insult in the space he had created, a space built on values of respect and inclusion. Victor had allowed this situation to play out intentionally, wanting to observe Ryan's attitude. He subtly signaled to Mia, the restaurant manager, to watch closely without intervening just yet. As more time passed, Mrs. Johnson raised her hand, trying to get Ryan's attention. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I would like to place my order." Ryan sighed audibly. "I'll be right back in a minute," he muttered, then walked off again. That was the final straw. Victor stood up, moving with calm but determined steps. He approached Ryan, stopping just as he was speaking with another table. "Victor?" Ryan stammered, startled. "I didn't know you were here." "I've been here," Victor said, his voice steady but firm. "And I've been watching." Ryan's confident demeanor slowly faded as Victor continued, "That's my mother you've been ignoring. 30 minutes and not even a glass of water. Do you think that's acceptable?" The restaurant fell silent. The other guests turned to watch the confrontation, and even the piano music stopped. Ryan's face flushed with embarrassment. He hurriedly apologized, but Victor cut him off. "Don't," he said coldly. "Mia, please take over table 12. Make sure my mother is served immediately." Mia rushed over to Mrs. Johnson's table while Victor turned to face Ryan one last time. "We'll talk about your future later. Go home now." Ryan removed his apron and left without saying another word, the door closing behind him. Victor approached his mother's table, gently bending down to meet her eyes. "Are you okay, Mom?" he asked, his previously tense expression now softening. Mrs. Johnson smiled and patted his hand. "I'm fine. You handled it very well." Victor exhaled in relief, the tension leaving his body. "I should have stepped in earlier." "No," she replied softly. "Sometimes, it's better to let people reveal their true nature." As the restaurant returned to its usual rhythm, the guests resumed their conversations, but the event lingered in their minds. The staff became more attentive, careful, and respectful in their service. Later that evening, Mia gathered the staff for a meeting. "Tonight was a big lesson," she began. "Respect isn't optional. It's the foundation of everything we do here." Victor sat quietly, his mother's words echoing in his mind. Leadership wasn't just about managing operations. It was about upholding the values that had shaped this place. As the night came to a close, Victor escorted his mother to the car. "You've built something beautiful here," she said. "But remember, it's not just about the food. It's about the feeling people have when they walk through the door." Victor nodded, his mother's words serving as a reminder of the deeper purpose behind his work. As he watched her drive off, he made a silent vow to ensure that Linden Grove would always be a place of respect and kindness, a space where everyone felt they belonged. The story of Mrs. Johnson's quiet resilience and Victor's decisive leadership left a profound impact on all who witnessed it. For the guests, it was a lesson in empathy and the importance of standing up against injustice. For the staff, it was a reminder to uphold the values that gave meaning to their work. And for Victor, it was a reaffirmation of the principles his mother had taught him, principles that would guide him for the rest of his life. For you, the observer, what would you do in such a situation? Small injustices are everywhere. Let this story remind us to choose respect and compassion in all our encounters. If you found this story meaningful, please share, subscribe, and join the conversation about building a better world.